Hello everyone, Rich here. Periodically in my videos you will see me take my mouse and click somewhere in the browser and I get this resize stroke reposition menu where I can actually choose a different resolution, click, and it does it. Now some people think this is a native part of the Windows environment. It is not. It is an app called Sizer, which is free and available at brianapps.net. You can get to it easily by going to your search engine of choice and typing in Sizer, S-I-Z-E-R, press enter, and it will be the first result. Upon install of this application, it will put a little crosshair icon in the bottom right in your taskbar area, and when you right click that and go to configure Sizer, you'll get something like this. Let me just delete this one. Now it won't look like this because I've added in my own custom settings. But what you can do is that you can specify a specific pixel dimension and whether it moves it or not, and it will resize almost, I want to repeat that, almost any application window that you have open. Now, for example, when this is installed, let me bring Chrome back up here, and I will purposely resize this on purpose so you can see what I'm about to show you. If you go to the bottom right corner of the window, and so your mouse changes from a single arrow to a double diagonal arrow, if I left click and hold, you'll notice I have a tool tip that's state, and as I move it, it changes. The information within it changes to show the current pixel dimension of the window. And let's just say for whatever reason, I really like the size of 1000 by 600. We'll say 1000 by 600. So if I put this, there we go. Okay, 1000 by 600, and I really like this for whatever reason. What I can do is I can go back into Sizer by configuring it and add, which puts in a new entry at the bottom, which by default is 640 by 480, and I will change this. And I will call it 1000 by 600. You can name it whatever you want. So if I want to name it my custom res, I could totally do it that way, but just to make it easier on me, do 1000 by 600. And then I have to choose whether I want the window moved or not when I click that option. So I will drop this down and I'll say, okay, I want it in the center of the screen when I do this. And then I want it at the top, so I will highlight it and click the move up button until it's at the top. Oh, this one came back. Delete. There we go. So 1600 is at the top now, and I hit OK. Now, when I go back to this, I will right click. Actually, let me make it back to 720p. Now I want to resize this to 1000 by 600 and dead center of the screen. Right click. In Chrome, it's anywhere outside of a tab, by the way, in the arrow part of the top here. Right click, resize, stroke, reposition, 1000 by 600. There it is. Now bear in mind, resizing windows is different depending on what the app is. So let me resize this one back to 1280 by 720. In Chrome, you can go anywhere within this part, meaning not the address bar, not on a tab itself, even way over here, and I will get my resize stroke reposition menu. In the Internet Explorer browser, on the other hand, let me resize this one. If I right click in the arrow area, nope, but if I move my pointer slightly above to the border where the pointer changes to a double vertical arrow, I right click and I do get it. So then I can go back to 720 like that. In the Firefox browser, I can, if I try to right click in the same line, horizontal line as the tabs, nope. But if I go right above that in here, I do get it. So right click and do it as such. Now there's a reason I have the website you see listed in there, and I'm going to mention this now. If you like the idea of resizing your browser at whim, but you don't like the idea of installing an app just to do it, you can use resizemybrowser.com, which is exactly as it sounds. And the problem with this is that this does not work in Chrome, nor will it center it on screen, or at least not that I know of. So for example, if I want 1024 by 600, or actually let me make a new preset here. I'll do the same 1000 by 600 and call it 1000 by 600 and create. Okay, so now I have it. You can choose whether to make the outer edge that size or the inner screen area that size. You probably want to be outer. So for example, when I switch to outer, you'll notice it says 1280 by 720, which is what it is. If I do inner, that's different because it's not taking into account the borders or the menus, so I choose outer. If I want 1000 by 600 and I do it, it will launch another window entirely. And it is 1000 by 600, but the problem is that it shoots it up to the top left of the screen and it creates another browser instance entirely. It works, but I didn't want it to open a new window. So there's a drawback to using it, but the advantage is nothing needs to be installed in order to use it. And I think this works in IE as well, but I know it works in Firefox, but I know it does not work in Chrome. Hence the reason why I prefer having the app with the native menu here. Well, excuse me, not the native menu, the app, the menu provided by the Sizer app. So in a nutshell, that is how to go about it. And yes, it does work in 2000. Yes, it does work in XP and Vista and 7. So you can install it all there and it works. And I personally like it because it makes for quick resizing for sizes that you use often. Works great for browsers, works great for image editors, other apps. If you happen to have a large display, it's good for putting specific windows in the same place all the time. If Windows conveniently forgets your window positions, you can just use this to say, hey, I wanted it, back this way, or however you wanted to do it. If you do screencast videos, such as I do, it's really cool to have, very cool to have this here because you can always dead center it on the screen. You can always get an exact 720p when screencasting, which is why when I do these videos, they always take up the exact dimensions of the, when I have it in 720p anyway, they take up the full width and height of the YouTube video that you're seeing now. And when you go full screen on a 16:9 monitor, it does take up your whole screen like it's supposed to. So anyway, that's that. Sizer, it's a free app in Windows. Yeah, get it.